Hey everybody, this is me, Kaylee McMahon, with Number One Leading Ladies podcast, the podcast by women, for women, where we focus on building each other up instead of tearing each other down. Today we have a very important and exciting guest. Today I'm going to let her introduce herself because I won't do it justice. Go ahead.
My name's Elena Cardone. I'm married to Grant Cardone. We have 2 children. We have $3 billion assets under management with our combined of about 10,000 apartment units that we own, and we have about 15 companies that we also operate, and so that's pretty much it. I wrote a book called Build an Empire, How to Have It All. My background says EXP. I recently became a licensed realtor. I joined EXP so that I can help thousands of other people build their empires by offering mindset, infrastructure, and support, which is what I offered in being the woman behind the man. Now I have the opportunity through EXP to be the woman behind the 1,000. So super excited about this venture in my life as well as everything else going on.
So I've read a little bit about your background, y'all's background together, and there's been a couple of things that you've done in life that have been, let's start at ground zero and build it. So I know that you know exactly what a startup is like and how that feels. A lot of what we focus on with this podcast particularly is watching or showing women how other women are able to get to traction. So they build a company and then they start seeing, okay, people are buying my product, they're engaging in my services, whatever it is that you offer, then they're able to make money and scale from there, basically. So one of the first questions that we like to ask from your experience, and you can pick any venture that you want to, what was it like to really build a business from the bottom up and then get to traction? You know, like were you like me, where you had to put your first business on a credit card? What did it take to get to traction?
Well, there's been several that we've done. The first thing is just making a commitment to doing it, right? And being recommitted over and over and over, and in face of all of the no's and the challenges and the barriers and the obstacles, to keep forging forward. And what helps with that is the purpose. Like, why are you doing this? And then one of the things that I always do, like for instance, let's take EXP. It's in my backdrop. You know, you would think, oh, this woman has all these stats and credits behind her. This is going to be so easy for her. But no, I never studied real estate. I had to do what everyone else would have to do. I had to study the course. I had to pass the exam. Now I have to continue to surround myself. If I want to be good, great, and fast, I want to fast track my way to success, I've got to go hook up with other mentors in my industry and pick their brains and say, hey, what are the do's, what are the don'ts, and learn by their mistakes and surround myself with mentors. Every single deal that I've done, I had to bring to someone who's more experienced in the field than I am, and to help me and to oversee and to watch it. So it's like, it's not beating yourself up for not knowing. It's actually, and sometimes that requires investing money and time and energy, a lot of time. I mean, to study and to really get good at your craft, and to really not just expect things to come to you, but to go out and to make it happen. So these are the things that it takes to have a startup and to start from nothing to go to somewhere. It's where do you see yourself in the future? Who do you see yourself being? I see myself being a professional realtor in the future. And what do I have to do to now take the actions to get me to be that person that I want to be in the future? So now it's like, okay, I have to wear the hat as the realtor, be the realtor, dress like a realtor, study real estate, the farming, whatever it is in your area of expertise of which you want to know about, what's going to separate you, make the calls, and what steps do I need to take? And then write down a whole action list of what you actually have to do in order to have the picture that you want in the final picture. And setting yourself up with little sub targets along the way, because obviously I'm not going to be a black belt overnight. It's just not realistic, but setting myself up with little mini targets. You know, I want to grow the largest, most successful real estate team in the world. Sounds ridiculous. I've been a licensed realtor for 6 months. Who would want to join my team? That's absolutely absurd. The audacity. You've got, the Coldwell Bankers, you have Remax, you have Keller Williams, all these other established brokers. And yet here's little old me that says I'm going to be the largest, most successful real estate team in the world. Like, but the thing is I'm okay with other people looking at my goals and my dreams and having them be laughable, because I know that if I stay on the course and I continue to do all the actions and grow and learn and move and keep putting the word out, I tell every single person that I come across about what I'm doing and see if there's a way. If it's not them, do they have a mother, a sister, a brother, an uncle, somebody that's in real estate that you can pass my way, and that's how I built a team of 340 people in 6 months. It's not because they're coming to me because I've been in the business for 20 years. It's because they look at me and they know, hey, you know what? This chick has got stats in the area of infrastructure, mindset, and support, show active interest in the success of. Like, can you imagine if you had someone as powerful as me, because that's my wheelhouse. I know how to do support. I run support. If you had a me behind you, so that's why these 340 people have come on, and that's why I'm not stopping until I get the thousands and the thousands, and I can offer it to all of them. You see what I'm saying? But my point to that is not to brag about what I'm going to do. And my point to that is set your dreams high and your goals high. Have the audacity to put it out there. Be willing to follow it up with actions, and surround yourself with people who are going to help you to get to that point.
That's right. How would you say, I heard a couple of key points that I think I even struggle with sometimes when I got started doing something. There were certain mentors that were important at that point in time. Depending on your vision and how you grow, that growth could be beyond what they even can offer you. But in the beginning, you definitely do need some kind of guidance. What would be the best advice you could give the audience about how to find those people when you need them?
I look at statistics. I'm not going to go to my mechanic for advice on how I should conduct myself in my marriage, especially if my mechanic's been on his 4th divorce. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't look at one person to meet the goals of every little thing. I look at someone of what their stats are. Okay, there are certain agents that are in town that they're doing literally hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions a year. Yep. Like, they know something. That is the person I'm going to go to find out how to do a deal, negotiate deals. How do they get them? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go pick their brains. I'm going to study every single thing that they have about the luxury market, if that's the market I want to be in, and that's what they're selling. Like, I'm going to go study. Do they have YouTube videos? Do they have a book? What is it? I'm going to go deep on that one person. I'm not going to go to just anyone that's, maybe the 10 million person that thinks, oh my God, that's huge. And maybe it is, maybe, that's huge for somebody, but in comparison to my goals and where I want to go, that's not somebody I'm going to go listen to. I want somebody at the top of their game that's really above and beyond, and then study them in that area deeply and try not to get confused by all these other experts.
Now, when you're in the beginning of figuring out what is working, what is getting you traction, for example, as an agent, in this example, it would be, okay, do I get traction when it comes to condo sales or single family or kind of a hybrid model or leases or triple net? Do I want to do commercial? When you started, did you kind of start with trying a little bit of everything, or how did you figure out what was going to work?
No, because I know what I want to do. I only want to sell high, for me personally. And because I joined EXP, there's other facets to EXP which excite me more than being the realtor. Mm-hmm. Like, for me, what attracts me more is that there's what's it called? No, you weren't on that phone call. It's the rev share organization, yeah. The leveraged. It's called leverage. Yeah. Asset where you can earn a commission from 7 layers deep of people within your organization. It has a multi-level marketing component without being a multi-level marketing enterprise. Yep. So that is what excites me, because that's my wheelhouse. And then plus you actually have equity ownership. You can actually have equity ownership by earning stocks in a publicly traded company. So that's really what's exciting to me. But if I'm going to go be mindset, infrastructure, and support to all these people, I feel Like I can't go tell them what to do if it's not something I'm not willing to do myself. So I'm only interested in being a realtor in the one aspect that I have to do this in order to be able to secure these other two wheelhouses that I'm really truly an expert in. So my interest in real estate is not very high. However, because I have to do it, want to do it, I'm only interested in selling high-end luxury. I'm not interested in small amounts. I'm not interested in transactions, hate everything to do with it. Why? Why do I hate it? Because I'm not good at it. Because I'm not a professional yet. You only start to love the things you're really good at, you know? So until I get through that, maybe my mind will open up and one day I'll have this big epiphany that I love real estate. But until then, like, you know what excites me? When I cap on my first deal and I had the buyers for a $6.9 million condo. That was exciting. That paycheck was exciting. I was like, wow, that's cool. That makes me excited. So I'm only interested in that. But for the person out there that is interested in maybe multiple avenues, go explore it, study. You've got to invest time and energy and most of the time money back into yourself. So again, that's how I would tie this back into full circle about your startup. For anyone that's doing a startup, this is the process that we use. I'm not saying it's the only or the best, but it's worked for us, and we do it over and over and over again with all of our companies. Yep. So the first thing is you do the startup. As soon as the business starts spitting off a little bit of money, all that money goes back into the business. It either goes back into self-enhancement, which again, you would say I'm like the business, right? Because the business wouldn't run if it wasn't for this, right? Yeah. So everything goes back into self-enhancement. I'm either going to go to trainings, conferences, right. Taking a real estate course, blah, blah, blah. It either goes back in myself or it goes into the service facility, meaning the office, the space, the copier, the MLS, the whatever you have to spend the money for. Maybe you need to hire an assistant to go through and help you. That would go back into the company. And then it goes back into the company. Then hopefully that money then produces more money. Then it keeps going in that circle until, see, it only goes, the money that I earn doesn't go into buying Chanel or buying clothes or buying heels. It only goes back into myself, self-enhancement. I got to look professional. I got to look decent, but I don't need to be in Balmain, okay? You can look nice in a nice Macy's suit or whatever, wherever, you know? Mm-hmm. But it goes back in, and then you should be producing enough money to where maybe it doesn't need as much. And then the extra money, we store that money until we save that money up. Then that money, once it hit a certain amount, gets placed into a income producing asset. And once it gets placed into the income producing asset, in our case, it's apartments, buildings, then that money starts spitting off the passive inflow, the cash flow. And from cash flow, that's what we can buy Balmain or a diamond or a helicopter or a plane with. But we never spend earned income on those types of toys.
Yep, that's absolutely smart.
It's a process. It goes back into the company or back into yourself, and then it goes back in here and then store, and then the third one rolls into the income producing asset. But you're never going to earn your way to wealth. You can only, from passive inflow, second and third and fourth and fifth or sixth in streams of passive income, earn your way to wealth, which is truly legacy generational wealth. You don't earn that. Because that ends the day you stop earning.
Yep, absolutely. So everyone that's listening, watching, reading this later on, you heard it direct from the source that regardless of how much you're making, when you're in a startup phase, it's always important to dump back into your business. And so if you're looking to get funded by venture capital companies or something like that later on, seeing that money, say 90%, 95% goes back into the business, they're going to really like that because they know you're committed. Then you've created systems with those support people that you need. Now they know how much it's going to cost to fund your business to be able to say 10x, whatever it is that you're making to then have it be profitable. And then everybody gets a cut. Exactly. So that discipline is the one thing I think that defines you and makes you able to do what you just recommended, Elena.
Absolutely. And I like that you say discipline, and people have to understand, because we're in a digital age where you can press a button and get everything that you want at a moment's notice, that doesn't it doesn't transfer to the real world. The real world is when you're doing a startup, there is a sacrifice phase. There's a sacrifice phase, and you just have to be willing to keep investing, keep expanding, growing the empire, keep reinvesting. So there might be a year or two where it looks like, wow, I'm doing a whole lot of work and not a lot of payoff. But you just have to know, if your product is really good and can solve another person's problems, and know that you have something good, then eventually what happens in the process is this avalanche snowball effect. Yeah. And I've seen it over and over and over again. We have 16 companies that we own and operate, and every single one of them, it's like it does that same lag, and then all of a sudden it goes whoosh, and once it flips, then it starts churning on its own, and it starts building momentum, and then it becomes like it's almost unstoppable at that point. But it takes time, and Grant always says this, and I hope I don't misquote him because it's a good quote. He goes, you're going to spend most of your life being underpaid until one day you're overpaid. I don't know if I misquoted him, but the concept is most of your life, you're not going to be paid enough, or you're not going to be paid what you're worth. And then one day you're just going to be so overpaid, it's going to be ridiculous. And that's where I want everyone to get to. But it doesn't happen overnight. It's not instantaneous. And never lower your targets, but set those sub targets that I'm telling you, those mini wins that you can have along the way, because it is a process.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be a long one. That's what Grant and I are spending our whole lives doing now, trying to fast track everyone's way to success so it won't take you, in his case, many, many, many years. But in our case of just our marriage years, it doesn't take 12 years to get where it took us. I'd like to see people do it in half, 5 or 6 years. Yeah. I think that's very reasonable. If you're a mega superstar, maybe you can do it in 2. Right. That's what I'm going for now with my business. But it's an unrealistic expectation, Yep. And we'll see. I have 340 people in 6 months, but I understand snowball effect, and I understand the churn. So right now I'm like, I'm so far behind schedule, but I'm just continuing to outflow equals inflow. I continue to outflow. I can continue to learn, educate, get better and better and better. And then I know one day, I convert one brokerage that has 1,000 agents, and boom. And then those 1,000 agents bring in 2 people. And then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 years down the line, or 6 months or a year, all of a sudden it's like, but I understand the process. So I'm not in panic mode yet, even though most brokers might take 40 years just to have 40 people in the brokerage. I've done 340 people in under 6 months.
Yeah, that's dust it off, Elena. That's amazing. I mean, and you're right that, obviously, depending on who you are, there's some people out there that, aren't well known on social media, and they're starting from a different place. So you have some leverage already, and that word was used perfectly. But I think that, what you're saying with it takes time to ramp up, be patient with yourself, reach out to mentors, put in the work to know the data behind who you're reaching out to. Are they the specialist in what you need to do and what you're wanting to do? And then all of the input of time, of course. Typically with tech companies, for example, the vesting period that they put in mandatory documents is like 4 years. So, and tech companies can, once they do, really go fast. So it's super normal. I kept my day job for quite a while when I was getting into that next venture. Elena, I've got a quick question for you. So one thing, and you can answer this however you'd like to, that we always ask our guests is, what would be your biggest lesson?
In life, as a generality, the first thing that pops into my head is become your own best friend. That was when I really was hit by the magnitude of what that meant to me personally. It was life-changing for me. I just really allowed myself the forgiveness of whatever I had done in the past. I really just said, you know what? I can hold myself accountable. I can make whatever action I do wrong right. I don't need to beat myself up the way I have done. I don't need to commit crimes against my own self by the noise and the lashings that I would do inside my head, I would never treat someone that heinously. You know, the amounts of excessive alcohol and drugs that I took and abused my body, you know, by causing that damage, you know, like I would just, if I had known how to be a real friend to myself, a friend would never let a friend do that to themselves. And when I really said, you know what, I don't need, I mean, not in a bad way, because I don't want people to misunderstand me, because I do need people in life. No one's ever built an empire alone. You need people. You need to expand. You need to grow. You need people. You can't do it on your own. But out of that context, in this context, when I realize I don't need anybody else but myself, everything that I have, all of my truth, my integrity, my courage, my wisdom, my intelligence, it's in me. Yes, I can seek advice. You see, I'm trying to do context here. Yes, I can seek advice. That's being intelligent and smart, right? But I don't need anybody else to give me something to make me okay with myself.
Yeah.
When I really gained that I'm me and I'm okay with me, flawed and not, you know, like I can just be my own best friend. It was extremely liberating for me. Like I don't need friends. I don't need that to fulfill myself. I finally figured out how to fulfill my life purpose and my spiritual connection to my own self. And in that context, it was very liberating. Now, outside of that, in the real world, you know, you have that. That's amazing. But you also do need people to build an empire. So I hope people could understand the differences, what I was trying to explain.
Yeah, I listened to a couple of things you said, and one thing I have kind of realized lately, similar, I believe that people, and this is not everyone believes this, of course, but are born into the world with a mission that they may not be aware of, but it was already decided, like whatever you're going to do. And so, you know, you may have people say, oh, you need to do this, or you need to do that, or you need to do that. And again, sometimes take things with a grain of salt. Sometimes things coming from somebody who has built something that you want to build is very valuable, you know, as far as taking advice. But I feel like that loving yourself and that self-confidence of, you know, knowing that you were born with this mission, that will never change. So I think that what you got to at that lesson, or through that lesson, has probably given you an immense amount of courage, self-confidence, and that's something that I wish that all women can get themselves to that place, because then there's nothing that you can't do.
Me too. It's a beautiful line or barrier to cross when you finally can just have you.
Yeah, be okay with yourself, you know. So Elena, the last question that we like to ask our guests is, what would be your biggest win?
The biggest win that I've had is being able to have the courage to deliver 2 children naturally at home, at a home birth without the assistance of any drugs.
Wow.
And, you know, I'm healthy enough, and I was fortunate enough to be able to have that be a goal. And I was healthy enough to where I could do that. And I did do that. And on a spiritual level, it was so profound for me to meet who I really am and literally be able to deliver is like, I don't know. It's just something that when you go through something, and that's why I say invest in yourself and invest in self-enhancement. Like when you learn knowledge, or when you gain a strength or courage, or meet yourself in a new way that you've never shown up in life, and no one can take that away from you. People always say, what if you lost it all? They love that question. What if you lost it all? And I'm like, well, yeah, that would suck, but you didn't. That's just money. I still have my integrity, my courage, my honesty, my grit, my tenacity. I'm going to get money a hell of a lot faster than I did the first time. Duh. But so going through something like a home birth that was so incredibly spiritual for me was just something that no one can ever take away. And I use it and reflect on that a lot in life. Not only when things are painful, and I think, okay, I can handle that. If I handled that, but just the tenacity to know that I can do things. I am competent. I am able. I'm stronger than I think I am, than I give myself credit for. It's just something that no one can take away from me. And so that was an incredible win for me. It was just really special time in my life, those 2 times.
That is so cool that you just made me think about, I haven't gotten there yet in my life. And so I know you have options, but I never even thought about that option at that point in time. So thank you for telling us your biggest win. We really appreciate your time, Elena, today. I think that there's a couple of different perspectives that you provided with women that are in, say, real estate specifically, and then a couple of other industries. They need to see it like, my first American Girl doll. She looked like me. You kind of need to see someone doing or look like you to be like, I can do that. Yeah, So really appreciate you sharing your win, sharing your lesson, and how you guys build everything and gain traction and momentum, because it can be a little overwhelming. But, everyone that's listening and watching this, you need to know that you can do it. I mean, other people are doing it. We really are, and we're here to help, and you can reach out to us. Elena, what is the best way for women that want to be, say, for example, in the Women's 10X Network or 10X Ladies group, or get involved to learn more about getting started or building that network? How can they get a hold of you?
Well, anyone in the real estate business that wants me to help them, and you want to help me on my goal and dream of building the largest, most successful real estate team in the world, can go to join10xempire.com to find out more, or to hear an opportunity call, go to join10xempire.com. Anything else, you can go to 10xladies.com and get into the network and in the newsletter. And of course, that's separate from EXP, but that's everything else that we do over here with Build an Empire and 10X Ladies, etc. So I welcome and encourage any woman to join the community and network. That's what I'm all about, and I would love to collaborate and help us all reach a heightened level of success.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Elena, for joining today, and thank you everybody who is later watching this, listening to this, or reading this. Really appreciate you.